Hey guys, what's up? It's been a long time since my last video. I kind of decided to put all my projects on hold and just take a little break from the hobby for a while. But now that the weather's getting a little colder around my area, getting back into the hobby, I decided to make a little video. And what better kind of video than a DIY? So here is a project that I have heard about a while ago, a few months ago, and I thought it was really cool and I always wanted to try it. And that is homemade scenic materials for diorama building or whatever you like to do, model railroad, whatever. But these are made with sawdust. And I thought it was a really cool idea, a really cool way to use something that normally you would just throw in the garbage. And all you really need beyond the sawdust, which should be free, is acrylic paints. Well, I'm going to show you exactly what you need in a minute. This video will probably have a lot of cuts, a lot of pauses, and coming back because I still don't have a tripod and I'm broke. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of cuts, but I'm going to show you guys exactly how I make mine. I know there's at least one video, maybe more, of other people and what their method is, and I'm going to show you what my method is. So these are I've made 5 colors so far, and these are the 4 that are done. These colors were all made with these 7 cheap acrylic paints. The apple barrels came from Walmart. The folk art paint came from Michael's, and it was overpriced, actually, so that's not a good idea. Don't buy them from Michael's. The website said they were 79 cents, and in the store they were $1.49. So I didn't feel like arguing. I just took them. But the first color I made was this one, the brown one, and that was like kind of like my test batch. I made that with the 2 apple barrel colors, the orange and the black, and there is a little bit of wood colored particles still left in there. I don't think I used enough paint, but it had a bit of a cool effect, so I decided to keep it that way. And then these 3 greens, well, this one's more of a tan, but the one on the right was grass green, which is right there, and that was, I'm pretty sure, pure grass green. The middle color there was the forest moss and clover, a little bit of clover. I just kind of winged it. And the color on the left is almost completely marsh fern. It may have had a little green because I think I mixed them in the same cup, and there was some other green residue in there, so it got a little bit of a green tint. But this one I have the most of, I believe. I kind of ended up, I didn't really measure what I was making. I kind of just scooped sawdust in the cup and just did it. But they turned out really good. The consistency of them, it's actually really nice. And some of it, like this is sifted. I sifted out the finest material. And I'm keeping the coarser material in these KFC containers. They're reusable. I have people save them for me. I save mine whenever I eat there, but I'm not going to open this. This has the coarser material in it. There's still some finer stuff in there, but it's mostly coarse material. But yeah, I had a day off work today, so I decided to do something that I wanted to try, and it was really fun, actually. Be prepared to make a mess. You can see my chair there, there's sawdust all over it. Do it somewhere where you don't care, or it's where it's easy to clean up. That's all I can say. The other color that I mixed up is that, which is that's straight burnt sienna, which is that color there, in case you want to get the same color. Oh, sorry about that. I really need to get a tripod. But yeah, so I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to get out the stuff that you need, and I'm going to show you guys how I make mine. Alright guys, so this is basically what you're going to need to make your homemade scenic materials. This is the last of the sawdust that I have, so I'm going to make a darker brown color. I can't really think of many other colors that I would want to make. I guess I can make like a more orangey color, but I want to make a darker brown. I don't have a lot of brown, and I'm gonna make a little more of a, like almost like a coffee ground type color. I don't know if I'll use the orange. I'll probably use burnt sienna and black and see how that turns out. But basically, this is what you want. I have these solo cups. One of these full almost to the top was the larger bags of scenic material. The largest was like over full, and the water will expand the material a little bit, so you want to be careful how much you use. The only mess that I made was I filled it up too high and I was stirring it, and once it's wet it's kind of hard to stir, and I spun the cup and it flung a bunch of stuff out. So you want to be careful about that. I have these little mini, they look like solo cup. They're not solo cups, but they look like them. It was easy for me to measure with the lines on here how much paint and water I wanted to use. The acrylic paints, you want a bunch of different stirring type implements. I mostly use that metal one there because it's easy to clean and it doesn't absorb water or paint, which you are going to be using, and some water. You also want to have, I would say, some paper towels just in case. If you spill wet sawdust, I would just wait for it to dry and pick it up with some real tacky tape. That's what I did. Works pretty good. You also want to have some paper plates, the good kind that are kind of waxy, waterproof. They're the kind that you want because they are going to get a little waterlogged, and you want them to keep their strength. You don't want your material to stick, etc., etc. So, I guess I'm going to have to pause again, and I'm going to mix up my paint, and then I'll be back to show you the next step of the process. Alright guys, so here's the next step. Here I have my paint mixed. It was mostly orange and black. I used a little bit of the burnt umber to get it to be a little more brown. It was very dark at first. I actually dumped some of it out and mixed a little more orange and a little more burnt umber in to make it a little browner. Here's my sawdust. It was about half full of paint, half full of water. I overdid it a little. This is more than enough paint. It's actually too thick. So usually what I do is I make a well in there and I pour a little bit down into the bottom, and then I cover that over and put a little more water into that, mix it up, and then dump it into there and mix that all up with the metal stick here. So I'm going to try to and I'm just using that roll of electrical tape there as a stabilizer. Just so happens that that fits right in there. So now I can take whatever other tool I have and cover over that little bit. And again guys, sorry I don't have a tripod. It's a little bit wobbly, but this is kind of how I have to do things. And then I'll put a little more water into the paint. And this is way too much paint for this amount of sawdust. I got a little carried away. And I hope this turns out. Usually it's a little bit, it looks a little gray, but I kind of like it. And again, sawdust, I'm just going to come up with some wood projects to do to cut up some wood, find an excuse to cut some wood up. And I'm afraid I'm going to spill this. And then basically, yeah, now I have to stir this up, so I'm going to have to pause it again, and I will show you guys what it looks like when I come back. Alright guys, so here it is. I used a little bit too much paint, honestly. It'd be nice to have a little more sawdust to mix in here to take up some of the moisture, but I don't, which is okay. I'll just have to agitate it a little more as it's drying and break the clumps up, and everything should turn out fine. But it, as you can see, it actually looks like a cup of soil. It looks like what, like really good potting soil I dug up out of my yard. And basically I just kept stirring. You got to make sure you get the bottom real good. Some unstained, you can see a little bit there, unstained sawdust. So you give it a really good mix, and then you're going to take a paper plate. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff here. Actually, I should keep that up here. The water can go. You're going to take a paper plate, which this is one I used for one of the green colors, and you're going to dump it out on here. Let me take a look and see. Yeah, there is a little bit of unmixed stuff on the bottom here, so I'm going to pause real quick again and mix it up one last time and come back and show you guys the rest. Alright guys, so here I've dumped, you just want to dump it all out. Clean your cup out real good, which I'm going to have to do when I stop recording. But I'm going to just take a tool like something like this, spread it out. You could even use the tool you use to stir, it's no big deal. And you're just going to spread this out so that it can dry the quickest and most efficient way. So you want to thin it out pretty good. And basically you're just going to let it set and dry just like that stuff is down there. And this stuff is probably... Oh. This stuff is starting to get there already, actually. And the bottom of your plates are going to get wet. You just have to be careful. Don't jab anything through them or whatever. But you just got to let this stuff dry. For me, it took overnight and the better part of the next day to actually be fully dry. And when I sifted it, it actually wasn't completely dry. But the sifting process actually helps because you're tossing it in the air, and the movement and the agitation helps it dry. But I was using this, which is a small colander, sifter, whatever you want to call it, strainer. I got this in a bargain area of the store I work at. It was like $1, something like that. Basically, I just put this over another plate and then dump that into here in small increments, sift it out, squeeze the material in the colander with my hand, agitate it, break it up, break up the clumps. If you want to keep a lot of coarse material, don't break the clumps up as fine, don't break them up as often, and you'll end up with more coarse material than you will fine material. I foresee myself using a lot of fine material, so I try to get as much out of it as I possibly can. And even the stuff that I put into the containers as coarse material still has fine material in it. So you end up with a lot of really good usable material. And if you have saws personally and you do woodworking, or you make anything with wood or do any type of woodworking projects, you have basically an infinite free, well, the cost of the wood, but it's extra material, it's waste material, and you can turn it into something that you can actually use. And I assume that this will work just like regular scenic material will, with like white glue. Basically, you just want to thin down white glue, or use unthinned white glue to glue this stuff down, sprinkle it on top. As you're sifting the material and watching it fall onto the plate, you will see how good it will cover and how it will look. That was my first indication of this being a worthwhile thing to do. Sorry, I'm shaking the phone there so much. But this is a worthwhile way to spend some time, because when you see it falling on the plate and you get a good idea of what it's going to look like as it lays down, it really is just as good, I would say, as like Woodland Scenics type stuff. I have some Woodland Scenics snow, and that is probably the only actual scenic I will buy. I'll probably buy I'll probably buy a couple of theirs just to test them against my homemade ones. But so far, this is really promising. Um, this is still really, really wet. It's probably painting. Yeah, it's painting my fingers. But yeah, so it's just another DIY for you guys. Um, it's actually fun. Like I got to admit, it's fun to do. Uh, to see this come together. Like I wasn't expecting a lot from this, to tell you the truth, and um, it really is something to see this actually work and become a viable way to make scenic material for modeling. I'm not sure about the scale of this stuff. It looks pretty close. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. I use this. Basically, this is a piece of a for sale sign, piece of polystyrene that I was using for another project, but I made a scoop out of it. And this is what I use to scoop the material. I use it to agitate the material, flip it over, make sure that it's always new surface area. I know someone in their video microwaved the material to evaporate some of the water. I don't really. I guess you could do that if you're really in a hurry, but I'm not using this stuff anytime soon, so I've basically just been sitting around 5 plates of colored sawdust for the last 2 days. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for all their likes and their comments on my other videos before I took this ridiculously long break. I want to thank everybody for the subscribes. I actually got a bunch. Some of my videos got like over 300 likes, which, by YouTube standards, that's nothing, but I kind of didn't expect that. But now that I'm kind of back into it, I should be working on a lot of stuff. I've been off and on with a couple small things. One of them is my workbench is so messy. Fast and Furious Eclipse back there. That's kind of the only other thing I've been working on. Falcon's still sitting down there waiting for a light kit. The Slave one is still waiting for a light kit. I'm still looking for mounting solutions for both those models. I think I'm going to try to use like a gooseneck type bendy thing, but it's a little off topic. That's for another video. But yeah, thanks guys for everything. The comments that I got, the questions that I got. I don't mind answering anything, so if you have any questions about this or any other video that I have, feel free to ask. I don't mind helping people out. I don't feel like there's enough people in this hobby to begin with, so I try to encourage everyone to try something new and different, and this happened to turn out really, really well for me. So yeah, thanks guys, and I will catch you next time.